Hi everyone, we will be broadcasting live shortly from Project Chimps, a chimpanzee sanctuary located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia in the United States. Hi everyone, we will be broadcasting live shortly from Project Chimps, a chimpanzee sanctuary located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline Gullidge with Mother Nature Network, and we're live at Project Chimps, a sanctuary for chimpanzees here located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. I'm here with the Executive Director, Allie Crumpacker. Allie, can you explain a little bit what Project Chimps is?
Sure. Thank you for joining us today. It's a beautiful day here in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and Project Chimps is a 236-acre sanctuary, and we are relocating chimpanzees that were formerly used in research. And the laws changed back in 2015, so they can no longer be used in those research, but they still live in the labs that they were being used in before.
Okay.
So when that law passed in 2015, there was actually 700 chimpanzees still living in laboratories.
Oh, wow.
And there's quite a few still there. So Project Chimps was formed to help resolve that kind of dilemma, the hurdle that was created by this new law, which was great. But there was no place for those chimpanzees to go. All the sanctuaries that existed at that time were already filled to capacity, and they couldn't take the hundreds of chimpanzees that needed a sanctuary. So that's how Project Chimps came about.
And when did you guys get your first group of chimpanzees?
It's a great question. We were formed in 2014, and we found this property in 2015 where we are. And it took a little bit of time. You can't just move chimps into anything. So to do the construction and the remodeling, we were ready for our first group in September of 2016.
Great. And how many chimps are here today, right now?
Currently today there are 39. And they are separated into 5 different family groups. They come in small groups of 6 to 10 individuals from the lab that we're taking them from. And then once they arrive here, we're giving them opportunities to start meeting some of the other members of the other groups and building family units that are much larger and more organic and natural.
Nice. And so is the reason that they arrive in groups, is that because of just your team getting them acclimated, or is it because they live together in groups back in Louisiana?
So all chimps are social, and they are housed in social groups where they are now at the laboratory, and then in those same social groups we start with them here. And it's really based on sizing of the enclosure that they have. So where they're coming from, they really can't have groups that are that large. Here we have acres and acres, so we can have larger groups, but it's still kind of a new thing for the chimps. So we have a behavior specialist that's meeting the chimps and working with their personalities and figuring out who else we have that they might make friends with or make a good role model for them, and then doing those introductions.
Kind of reminds me of like when you're in college and you live in a big dorm, and like you might know the people on your floor first, and you're trying to figure out different personalities and who you're going to get along with. So explain to me the group that's going to be coming out today. It's a group of 9 females, is that correct? And do they all come out at different times, or how do they coexist together in the outdoor habitat?
So because these smaller groups are still meeting each other, we rotate who is giving access to the habitat. And they can actually go visit some of the other groups that are staying inside and don't have access that day, but they can be out on their porch about 10 feet away. So they can visit and say hi, or not visit them at all if they don't want to. But the group that's coming out, the 9 females that you mentioned, they joined us just last December. So they're one of the newer groups to arrive. And they get to visit today with us. Of course, they can come over and see what we're doing. They'll have access to another group of females that will be out on their porch area, so they could go say hi to them. And then there's a group of males on the other 3-acre yard from a different fence line, so they could explore with them as well.
Okay. And exactly how large is, because I know it's going to be hard for our viewers to see, how large is the outdoor habitat area?
With the trees in bloom, we're not going to see much past the tree line, which is great for the chimps because it's almost like a forested, kind of natural, semi-natural location for them. But it's 6 acres in total, and it's split in half, so there's 2 3-acre yards. So that way 2 groups of chimpanzees can be outside exploring at the same time. They're never forced to go out. So this is the interesting thing with captive lab-raised chimps. We have some individuals that when that door opens to give them access from inside to outside, they don't go out. Okay. Inside has air conditioning and hammocks. Some will run outside real quick and just see what is out there, and then go back inside and hang out the rest of the day. There's a few individuals that like to sit right at the door. They sit in the door and they kind of just say hi as everyone else goes in and out, and they that's their thing.
Okay, kind of like old grandma sitting on the porch in the South, just like waving at the neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. Or some are minding the children.
Yeah.
But that's what we're giving them is the choice.
Yeah.
It's really their decision to make. They have an opportunity to go inside to the air conditioning, to their covered but not temperature controlled porch. Right now with the heat, we have some misting systems up, so they could sit in a dry area, they could sit in a moist area, or they can go out and explore the trees or the tire or the platforms that are in the acreage.
Nice. And there's one question that I have that I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to have. I was a bit surprised when I learned recently that chimps were used in medical research in the United States. Do you happen to know how these chimps were used at the laboratory in Louisiana? What exactly happened with them?
We don't have those details. Chimps. And it's not something that is really crucial to our care of them either. There's hundreds of chimps that we are bringing in, particularly from this one location. That is Noelle, one of the females. She just saw us. Like, why are there so many people up on that roof?
Oh, and there comes another one.
In the wild, chimpanzees would spend 75% of their day foraging for food. So what the opportunity is that we're doing right now is that we can scatter their seeds, their nuts, some of their lunch items you'll see them going for, and they're actually foraging.
Uh-oh, looks like we got a little thief. So one thing I did notice, it seems like they don't really fight with each other for food. It seems like to be a very sharing environment.
There's certainly a little competition going on. The first one who saw those sweet potatoes went around and grabbed a lot of them. But everyone has their kind of preferred items. So all of their meals, there's a variety.
And how long does it typically take them once they arrive here to fully acclimate to this new environment? Because I know you said for many of them they've never touched Earth before, they've never experienced the outdoors. So how long, would you say to reach this level that they have right now of comfort of seemingly they appear to be relaxed?
Well, they did have access to a porch area, so they're not unused to just being outside in general, but they're not necessarily accustomed to having all of this space to roam around and explore in. And it's been very interesting with the first couple of groups. It took a lot longer. But as each group comes in, there's other groups that they can observe and see, because again, they're going to visit each other on those porches. So as one group is outside and others watching what they're doing, then when it's their day to go out, they're exploring those areas, so they're learning from each other, and they acclimate much faster that way.
I see.
Oh, we even have someone who selected some natural browse to munch on.
Kind of reminds me of when my dog just randomly eats grass, even though she has perfectly good dog food.
We do bring in some browse. There's some, looks like bamboo that was brought in today. But there are a lot of plants and native bushes in here that are growing berries. And we're hoping that they discover those and learn how to actually forage.
Yeah. And what is the purpose of the stumps here? Do you guys like hide treats in there, or?
There are holes drilled in that we will smear honey or peanut butter or jam sometimes. And it's things that they can get at with just their fingers on the surface, but some of the holes are deep enough they have to actually find a tool, like a small stick, and dig in there and reach in there. Anything that's going to stimulate their thinking brain onto how to solve the obstacle of getting to that yummy treat.
So one question I'm sure you've gotten a lot of before. Oh, yeah. Is why don't they, if after they leave the research facility in Louisiana, I'm sure you've gotten the question before, well, why can't you just release them back in the wild?
It is a common question, and these guys have never been in the wild. They didn't come from Africa. They wouldn't know what those foods are. They wouldn't know what the safety precautions would be. And even if we could teach them all of that, the wild populations are losing their habitat. So we would actually be encroaching and making the issue there worse by bringing captive chimpanzees that didn't know how to survive. So then they wouldn't be integrating with the wild populations. So really, unfortunately, sanctuary is the better opportunity than trying to teach them how to be a wild chimp. But we're still going to encourage wild behaviors so that they can express themselves in a truly species-specific way.
And your organization, Project Chimps, is a non-profit organization, correct?
Correct. So we do not receive any tax funding, and we're also not a zoo, so we're not open for tours, and so there's no ticket sales. So the care of these chimpanzees is 100% through the kindness of our supporters, through cash donations, through volunteer service, and then we even have an Amazon wish list where we will put things like their toys and their nuts that individuals can select off the wish list and send for us.
And it seems like donors, they tend to like it when they see a tangible physical donation actually being used with the chimpanzees, correct? So that's why the Amazon wish list is pretty popular.
Oh, the Amazon wish list is absolutely amazing. The caregivers will identify that there's a new enrichment device that we might want to construct, and we'll make the prototype and then put the different components of that on the wish list, and we usually within a day or two will have all the supplies that we need to make a device for all 39 chimpanzees to use at the same time.
Nice.
Which is how we get away with, no fighting.
So then how long will they typically spend outdoors? Are they, now that they've kind of gotten all their little veggie treats, are they just kind of roaming around now, checking things out, getting a little exercise?
Yeah, in addition to the larger vegetables, which is just part of their lunch, a lot of their seeds have been strewn out. So they have to, again, work on that foraging behavior, stimulate some exercise for them because they have to look for those items, lets them break off in the different little social units. You saw that all 8 of the 9 were here together in one group, but now they're kind of going off into their smaller subsets so that they can get some space, hang out with their best friend.
One thing I noticed too is they just seem so peaceful. They're just so quiet. Not necessarily timid. They just seem so happy here. They seem so at ease, which I think is a wonderful, phenomenal thing compared to, the years that they lived in the laboratory. So that's I'm sure for a lot of our viewers, a very welcoming sight to see.
Yeah, we do get asked, like, why don't they vocalize? And in the wild, they really wouldn't be vocalizing unless they have an issue. And as you just noted, they're very quiet, so there's no issues right now.
We're going to stop for a second when we start the Facebook Live, but he's still recording, so you guys can keep going.
Okay. I like how this one, she just has to look like, oh man, that's it? It's like, there's got to be more out here.
Well, if you look up on the ridge, you've got somebody who's doing basically a perimeter sweep.
Yeah. Like, are there any scraps, please? And whenever they're ready to go back inside, I'm assuming they just they know where to go back to, or...
Yeah, most of them during these hotter days, they're going to go inside a good hour or two before we really ask them to. But we do ring an actual dinner bell. And it is associated with dinner service, and they understand that, that means the best food of the day is going to be delivered, and they only get that inside. So that's how we can do a head count and check everyone, over for any thorns or issues that they may have gotten into while they were exploring the habitat, and then secure them for the evening. And we'll use that same dinner bell system. Let's say if we had a severe weather alert and we just needed to get everyone inside, early, they can respond to that, and they'll just get an early dinner.
So do you happen to know how they react to, because we both live in Georgia, it can be sunny one day and like torrential downpour the next, so are they necessarily fans of coming outside in the rain?
During the light rain, we've seen a lot of activity. During the heavy rain, there's one or two that are just dedicated to exploring the habitat, and they don't seem to care until they start shivering. And then they'll finally, begrudgingly go back to their villa.
Yeah.
But we still give them the option.
Yeah. And then in the winter time, I'm assuming they just don't come outside as much, especially if it dips below freezing.
We do take a lot of extra precautions when it's cold because it's not something that they're used to. And just like a little kid that's going outdoors and they think they can play in the snow for hours and hours, but they don't realize how cold they really are. So we do take a lot of precautions. We haven't let them outside yet in large snowstorms. And we do provide extra heaters on their porches that they could sit under if they still want to be outside but have that heat source.
Nice. And so I know we keep talking a lot about the outdoor habitat, and they do have indoor habitats that they stay in at night and during parts of the day. And I'm sure you've gotten the question before, like, well, why aren't they outdoors the entire time? They're chimpanzees. So why have the indoor space too?
It's one of the same reasons as to why we can't just release them into the wild. They did not grow up that way. They grew up in a climate-controlled building with heating and air conditioning. It is what they are familiar with. It's what they're comfortable with, and quite a few of them just don't go outside. They prefer to be inside and watch from the comfort of their hammock, the view of what's going on out the window.
Aww.
Okay, stop real fast. Stop it. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Allie, so much for taking time out of your very busy day, I'm sure, to answer all of our questions and to introduce us to the outdoor habitat.
Project Chimps is a 236-acre sanctuary nestled in the North Georgia mountains with the purpose to retire chimpanzees from the medical research industry. In 2013, the U.S. federal government determined that chimpanzees were no longer necessary for biomedical research. It was an end of an era for the research industry, but just the beginning for retired chimpanzees. Project Chimps was incorporated in 2014 to provide a permanent sanctuary home to chimpanzees retired from private research facilities. Project Chimps was created in response to conversations with the New Iberia Research Center in Louisiana and their interest in retiring all of their former research chimpanzees. After realizing the existing sanctuary community in the United States couldn't provide homes for all of the chimps from New Iberia, Project Chimps was born. Over the next 5 years, we will retire chimpanzees social group by social group from the lab to the sanctuary, where they will live with familiar individuals as they become more comfortable in their new home. We have plans to integrate the chimps into larger, more naturalistic social groups in hopes of forming a fission-fusion society. In September 2016, the first group of chimpanzees arrived at the Project Chimp Sanctuary from the University of Louisiana's New Iberia Research Center, which made the impressive and admirable decision to move its entire population of chimpanzees in phases over time to Project Chimps. 9 female chimpanzees made the 16-hour road trip from Louisiana to Georgia to be welcomed into their new home. These 9 females, including Latricia, Gertrude, Gracie, Genesis, Emma, Samira, Jennifer, Buttercup, and Charisse, have transformed since their arrival at the sanctuary and continue to blossom today. In November 2016, the second group of chimpanzees made their way to the sanctuary. Marlon, Arthur, Sapulu, Quentin, Josh, Patrick, and Taz now call Project Chimps home. The sanctuary gained 6 more residents on May 17, 2017, when Bo, Lance, Jabari, Sterling, Eddie, and Jason arrived at Project Chimps. Since their arrival, the group has experienced many exciting things like eating fruit they've never tasted before, trying out brand new enrichment and toys, and getting to know their caregivers as friends. At Project Chimps, chimpanzees have the opportunity to make choices like who to spend time with, what to eat, or what not to. They receive stimulating enrichment that challenges their minds and bodies, and above all, they're given the chance to just be chimps. We look forward to providing a permanent sanctuary home to many more chimpanzees in the future, because after all, it's their time to live.
For those who are just tuning in on our Facebook Live, I'm Jacqueline Gullidge with Mother Nature Network here at Project Chimps, a chimpanzee sanctuary located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. I'm here with Anthony Denise. He is a chimpanzee caregiver. And Anthony, how long have you worked for Project Chimps?
Just over a year.
And how did you even first hear about this organization?
So I was in a program at my university studying primate behavior, and I knew I wanted to go into the sanctuary field. So I had the opportunity to intern at another chimp sanctuary, and it's such a tight-knit community. Everybody knows who's hiring and you know, who would be a good fit for what position, and they gave Project Chimps the highest recommendation. So I had been following us through social media as well, and I just knew this was the kind of place I wanted to work.
Great. And it looks like we have a couple of female chimps, correct, down here below us?
Yes, we have Noelle and Loretta, who are residents of Villa 4.
Nice. And we can go ahead and take a close look at them, because I'm sure everyone would much rather see them than see us on camera.
For sure.
So, Anthony, tell me, what is it like interacting with the chimps? Because I'm assuming as a caregiver that you get to be very up close and personal with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, so in our day-to-day interactions with the chimps, we always stress that we want to have positive interactions with the chimpanzees. And that's always something that comes natural to a lot of us caregivers, because we've worked with chimpanzees or other primates before. And everybody here is so compassionate and loves what they do. So being enthusiastic with the chimpanzees and interacting with them in a chimpanzee way. So using their vocalizations, their gestures, that's really important to us. And then it lets them also be able to communicate with us and kind of know what we're doing. But one important thing here is that the chimpanzees have chimpanzee relationships. So like Ali was saying earlier, all of these chimps have been raised in social groups. They know how to be chimpanzees. So their most important relationships are with the other chimps in their group. And interacting with us is more of kind of like an added bonus while we're going through our daily routine. But the most important thing is the chimpanzee friendships that they build.
And so going off of that, can you kind of describe different behavioral things that they'll do, like when they're excited, when they're playing, when they're kind of fighting a bit?
Yeah, so one way chimpanzees have been described is that they have, it's almost like their emotions are contagious, that they spread throughout the group really easily. So if one chimp sees food and gets excited, it's like they can't hold it back and they have to start making this really excited food grunt or food squeak, and it lets the whole group know. Sometimes it'll go to an even higher level of excitement, which would be like a pant hoot. And then it lets the whole group know, and they all join in. So meal times are always very loud, very rambunctious, until everybody gets their bellies full, and then they all take a nap together. But yeah, and then aggression again. They do have disputes, like any group of primates, human or non-human, who have to live together. They do have disputes sometimes, little conflicts here and there. The important thing is that they have the option to work it out. So chimpanzees are really great peacemakers as well. So they have the ability to reconcile after fights, to console if one of their friends loses a fight, they can give consolation in that way. They police each other's fights for the good of the group. And a lot of this is done through physical contact, but again, also vocalizations and gestures.
Nice. And I know Ali was saying earlier that you guys are slowly doing like one-on-one interactions, like chimps from one group will meet chimps in another group. So why is that so important?
So chimpanzees in the wild are they're notoriously skeptical of outsiders, and they usually only accept new individuals to a group if they're young females who are ready to mate. So when you're introducing chimps in captivity, obviously it's not really close to a wild setting, but you can get close to that by giving them time to get to know each other. And the one-on-one introductions are great for that because you can have two chimpanzees face-to-face with no distractions, no other chimpanzees kind of egging them on or anything, and you can truly see if they are compatible in a one-on-one setting. And then slowly over time you'll build it up. So you'll start with, maybe we'll introduce, Loretta to Jason, for example. And then you might introduce Loretta and Noelle to Jason and Jabari, and then slowly from that you can build a group and merge groups with one another.
So one thing that I was amazed by is that you looked down and you immediately knew that these two beautiful chimps down here below us are Loretta and Noelle. So how can you tell them all apart? I've started to notice that they do all have unique features, and I'm assuming then that they also have different personality traits.
A lot of people have asked me if I can tell the chimps apart, and I think with an animal caregiver, when you start to work with a new species, so like the first time I worked with chimpanzees, I looked at them and I said, that's a chimp. And then slowly you learn, like, that's a male chimp, or that's a female chimp, that's an older chimp, that's a younger chimp. But something just kind of clicks in your brain, and I find it's this way with a new group of people too, where you stop thinking of them as like a stranger and you start recognizing the face. And then it becomes, humans are great at recognizing faces, and chimpanzees are as well. So you just something clicks in your brain, and that's Loretta. And then it goes beyond the face. It goes into how they move in the habitat. You can identify them from behind, from the side, or just their silhouette. So I know them as well as I would know, like, my closest friends.
And then can you talk a little bit about Loretta and Noelle's personalities?
So Loretta was notoriously shy when she first arrived at Project Chimps. She wasn't all that trustful of caregivers. She was also in a social group that was just recently formed, so she was trying to figure out her place in the social group as well. But we have seen her gain so much confidence, and believe it or not, when the tunnel doors opened to let them out into this yard of the habitat for the first time, she was the first one out. Whereas some of the chimps we always thought of as being like more assertive, more adventurous, more bold, stopped and kind of peeked out the door, and she just rocketed out. So she's been impressing us so much with her growth, and she's growing into her personality, and she's getting more assertive with the caregivers, getting better at letting us know what she wants when she wants it, and getting better at managing, navigating the sometimes difficult social environment of a chimpanzee group. And then Noelle from the start has been all about being the center of attention. The second you walk into her building to clean for the morning, she is right there in your face, up against the barrier, saying hi and trying to coerce you into playing with her, and always without physical contact, in a protected manner through the barrier. But she is so adventurous. She is excellent at kind of manipulating objects and using tools and taking things apart, which has been a challenge for us who build stuff for the chimpanzees to climb on and to use as toys and structural enrichment. So she's a challenging chimp to take care of, but she is so sweet and so kind, and watching her interact with her group mates as well, she is a total peacemaker. So she is definitely one of the staff favorites in a way. We love all the chimps, but. She is a pleasure to care for.
And I do believe we actually have a YouTube video showing Loretta and Noelle and the rest of the females in their group going outside for the first time ever. You were saying earlier Loretta was the first one out through the gate, so we can go ahead and take a look at that right now. For those who are just tuning in on our Facebook Live, I'm Jacqueline Gullidge with Mother Nature Network. So, Anthony, what are some of the enrichment activities that you guys do for the chimpanzees here in the outdoor habitat area?
Yeah, so the outdoor habitat itself is incredibly enriching. So, to put that another way, it really enhances their quality of life if they so choose to utilize the outdoor habitat for whatever it may be. So, Noelle, for example, just went running up the hill, and just being able to run and get that kind of exercise is one thing that the habitat gives them an opportunity to do it in a manner that they can't quite do inside. Inside, we have more like climbing opportunities, different cool places to like post up and take a nap, for example. But out here in the habitat, you have these wide open spaces between the little stands of forest, so they can really like build up some speed and know what it's like to run through the tall grass. And we also do have some smaller climbing structures in the habitat with plans for some larger larger towers that go up above the tree line and give even chimps who might not necessarily be bold enough to climb a tree the opportunity to get off the ground and enjoy the views and enjoy the breeze and, be the semi-arboreal chimpanzees like they would be in the wild. Really just getting off the ground and being able to have that option to sit on different substrates and materials. And it's also socially enriching because it gives them the opportunity to kind of split up and come together and engage in these complex chimpanzee relationships. So chimpanzees have a social system which is generally known as fission fusion, which means they are constantly splitting up and coming together, and that's how a normal chimpanzee society works. So like you and your friends, some of you might go to the movies, and then some of you might go get pizza, and then you'll come together the next day at school or whatever. So chimpanzees are kind of like that, where they do different things, and the habitat gives them that opportunity.
Nice. And then I know they also have an indoor habitat space. So what are some of the enrichment activities that you guys do for the indoor space?
Yeah, so for the indoor spaces, we tend to focus a little more on things that the chimpanzees can interact with. And one great way to keep a chimpanzee entertained is to give them a somewhat challenging but also enjoyable ways of extracting and acquiring food. So in the wild, chimpanzees spend most of their day foraging for food, finding food, learning about new food sources. So it's important that in captivity they get that same opportunity and stimulate those senses. So in the case of us caregivers, we mount a lot of devices on the caging that the chimpanzees need to do a little bit of work for to extract food if they decide to do so. And that gives our highly motivated chimps an opportunity to kind of express those chimpanzee behaviors.
So then what kind of objects do you use? Actually, I think we're pausing because I think we're just going to watch Loretta kind of forage for a bit. So then what kind of objects do you guys use to put the food in the indoor space?
Yeah, so we do a lot of things with recycled and reused materials. As you can see, looking out here, we have some logs from elsewhere on the property and tire that we acquired with this property as well. And it's the same thing indoors. So we use a lot of PVC, a lot of donated fire hose that local fire departments retire to Project Chimps as well, and we can build things out of that fire hose. Different toys and different items that our wonderful donors donate as well keep the chimps entertained. And just like humans, they'll go through phases where maybe one toy is enjoyable for a week, and then they'll set it down and they won't go back to it for a few months. So we kind of keep a steady stream of new objects. Some of them have affinities for example, blue toys or brushes or stuffed chimp dolls, So we need to keep a steady stream of new objects stimulate their chimp behavior. And then a lot of things we mount on the caging are things that the chimps can manipulate. So we have one thing one of our caregivers has been working on lately are these wiffle ball feeders. And we call these wiffle ball feeders. They are a tube of PVC with a sliver cut out the side, and then we fill them with wiffle balls. For all you wiffle ball fans out there, here's what you can do with reused wiffle balls, repurposed wiffle balls. And then caregivers can put nuts and seeds and other kind of really nutritious, high-value treats in here for the chimps. And they have to turn the wiffle balls to get to those items. So this is a very, very time-consuming and labor-intensive device, but the chimpanzees love it because they get some really high reward prizes from doing this.
Nice. And I believe there's also a YouTube video that was one of my favorites, actually, that shows two of the chimps playing in a ball pit, kind of like the ball pit you would see as a kid at a fast food restaurant. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that now, too.
Every day is totally different. There is something of a routine, and we're constantly working to always get better at the routine and find ways to kind of problem solve and take care of chimps, give them the best care possible. But there are so many surprises that pop up, and it's challenging, it's rewarding, and most of all, you get to spend time around these amazing personalities that the chimps have, and the people who work here are pretty awesome. It's quite the team, so to be a part of that is great too.
And this is Loretta right here, correct?
Yes. Yeah, this is Loretta.
And it looks like she's just doing a little foraging for some nuts and seeds. Is that correct?
Yes. So there are nuts and seeds and other nutritious food items kind of scattered throughout this portion of the habitat, and that gives the chimpanzees an opportunity to forage for food like they would in the wild.
Great. And actually, we'll go ahead and head down to the kitchen where we will talk with Dawn, who is actually working on some extra nutritious treats for the chimps today. Hey everyone, I'm Jacqueline Gullidge with Mother Nature Network, and we're here live at Project Chimps in Blue Ridge, Georgia. And right now we're in the kitchen, and I'm here with Dawn DiLorenzo, who is one of the head volunteers here. And we're just going to have a quick chat about chimps nutrition. So Dawn, can you kind of walk us through what do chimps normally eat if they're out in the wild?
Well, in the wild, the chimpanzee spends about 75% of his time foraging for food. They'll eat anything, insects, and in fact, chimpanzees will eat meat. They will eat monkeys. They are not vegan by any means, but they eat eggs as well, and any kind of leaf, any kind of fruits and vegetable that they might find out in the wild, they'll eat it for sure.
So then I'm assuming that the chimps here at the sanctuary don't have that same diet, do they?
No, not at all. Project Chimps is a vegan sanctuary, so we don't have any meat or any eggs or cheeses at all in their diets. And they primarily eat fruits, vegetables, and grains. We give them a lot of grains as well.
And so how many pounds of produce then does a chimp here eat on a typical day?
Well, we really don't weigh here. Some sanctuaries do weigh, we don't. So what we do is, for instance, each chimp might get 2 vegetable in the morning and 1 fruit, and then at lunch we have what we call forage, because literally we are making them work for their lunch. We have a graded roof on their outdoors habitat, and they have to, we put it on the top and they either come and get it out of the top or it falls down and they grab what they like. So they're foraging, and that is where we would do more greens, leafy vegetables, so they have more time to enjoy it. And then in the evening it's the same. They have fruits and vegetables, 2 each, and they also get both morning and night chimp chow, which is a biscuit. And this here is a little bit of a remnant of what's left in the bag, and we use this as well for enrichment items. So the chimp chow has all of their vitamins and nutrients that they might need on a daily basis, so that we're sure they're getting all the nutrition that they need every day.
And so why is it important for chimps to forage for their food?
Because in the wild, they actually forage all the time. Nobody's handing them anything at all. So we need them to be as chimp-like as they possibly can be here at the sanctuary. Our goal is to give them a quality of life, one that they have inbred in them, that they know that they want to forage. So we like to keep them busy. We like to keep them content, and they are happiest when they're foraging and playing each day.
So in your experience, when a chimp has first arrived at the sanctuary, does it kind of take them a while to learn about the foraging skills, or do they kind of instinctually pick up on it immediately?
Each chimp is different, and each one, they have to learn. They are eat primarily in the facilities that they've been in the past. They have their chimp chow. Occasionally they would have fruits and vegetables. As far as foraging, not so much. Maybe they have a little outdoor habitat, not like ours, it's an enclosed dome, and they would possibly put some food around for them that way. But here they're learning to enjoy fruits and vegetables. It's amazing really to watch them discover what they like, what they don't like, when we learn. And our caregivers are wonderful. I watch them and they know which chimp likes what food, and I'll be in the kitchen sometimes and they'll say, oh, don't make corn for Gertrude because Gertrude really doesn't like corn, so let's give her an extra sweet potato. So they're learning what they like, and it's really fun to watch them learn, as a matter of fact.
I was just laughing because Gertrude is my great-grandmother's name.
There you go.
And she made delicious corn because she's from the South. So, and then for special occasions, I noticed you guys will do like little celebrations for birthdays and things like that. So do you make any special treats for their birthdays?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we do. We celebrate birthdays, we celebrate Halloween and Christmas, and all of the holidays get celebrated here. And we do. We'll make paper mache in a shape of like a pumpkin or a peach, and we'll fill the paper mache with goodies and treats. We do special things. For instance, I have friends that come from Florida quite regularly, and we bring coconuts. So we'll save fresh coconuts, which is such a treat for them, and it is a riot to watch them figure out. They've never seen coconut until they get here. How to open them, and they love them, and it keeps them busy for hours. So we'll save special fruits and vegetables for them, and again, they each have their own favorites, what they like here. So we try to always make sure that they have what they like as well.
Nice. And so what exactly do we have set up here right now?
Well, this is enrichment, and one of the things that we do every day, and every day we make at least 2 enrichment for the chimpanzees, one for the morning and one for the evening, so that they're busy. We want to keep them busy. So what I'm going to do is I will take peanut butter powder or peanut butter and mix it with some raisins and some chimp chow dust, because we don't want to lose the dust that settles at the bottom of the bag like you might in a dog food or cat food bag. And I'll mix it up and I'll put it in. These are kongs, what they use mostly for dogs. And it's, chimpanzees have carnivore teeth, and so they're very tough. They can't bite these so easily. So we'll put that in, and what I'll do at the end is I'll put a nut at the very end just to make it a little bit more challenging and fun. We make all different types. We have raisin boards, so they will find sticks out in the habitat, and they'll poke and they'll prod and they'll get sticks, and they'll get every little last bit of peanut butter out of here, believe me, every bit.
And so this is something you would put in their indoor or outdoor?
This both. Sometime during the day we'll put it in their outdoor villa. Now we have the villa where their bedroom is, and behind it is an outdoor enclosed. They're still caged, but they're outside. And it wasn't until 3 months ago that any of these chimpanzees ever stepped foot on Earth. So they are now in our outdoor habitats, which we have for them. We have a north and a south. So we won't put these out there, but we will put them in their outdoor enclosure, or in their evening. We will hand them one before we leave so that they have something to work on until it's bedtime. They'll work on these type of projects.
Okay, great. And real quick, can we talk about the many bags of nuts behind us right here, and just how important are donations?
Donations are massively important to us. Honestly, we are so grateful to everyone who goes on our Amazon wish list, and anything from toys to nuts, blankets. We have had incredibly generous donors, and we always will. At the moment we have 39 chimpanzees. Our goal is to have all 225 from the same facility in New Orleans. So we will constantly need help, and we appreciate it tremendously. But yeah, this is something that comes, and we use them, and we love it. We just love our donors.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like based on your Amazon wish list, like you said, there's a variety of snacks on there and enrichment toys, that those donations are a more urgent need than sometimes the monetary donations?
Yes, because monetary donations for us are used right now to build this facility. We are trying to build our facility to house 225 chimps. So we need financial aid to do the construction work, which is necessary. Our outdoor fencing for the habitat was incredibly expensive. And so in order to make them get here within the 5-year period that we need finances. But as far as our daily routine, so that we don't have to spend money on nuts and toys and blankets, this is where it comes in so wonderful that the Amazon wish list has helped us so much. And we have built out 3 villas in the past. The structures were here, but we have built them to chimpanzee need because of our monetary donations. So both are equally as important right now for us.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Dawn, for taking time out of your day. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
And if any of you guys out there have any questions or comments, there is Project Chimps staff on hand to answer anything that you want to know about. And just a reminder, as you guys have seen these beautiful chimpanzees this morning foraging and eating the fresh vegetables and the nuts and the seeds, these things are not possible without donations. There's multiple ways you can donate. You can go on their website, projectchimps.org, and donate via PayPal. Or even more handy than that, if you would like to see an immediate return on your donation, you can go to their Amazon wish list. They have a wide variety of things that you can choose from, whether it's a big bag of nuts or some toys or blankets or even just equipment that they need here to run this facility smoothly. These donations are vital because, as we mentioned earlier, they are a true nonprofit organization. They do not get any taxpayer funds, and so anything that anyone can donate is greatly appreciated.
Give me the pat on the head. Look at that. Love the embracing.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I'm gonna go deal with this.
Project Chimps provides lifetime care to former research chimpanzees in a sanctuary on 236 acres of forested land in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Project Chimps has an agreement with the medical research facility in Louisiana that has the largest population of privately owned chimpanzees in the United States in order to bring the lab's chimpanzees to Project Chimps' sanctuary. Project Chimps is in the process of transferring these intelligent and sentient beings from the lab to their new homes, where they will spend the remainder of their lives. In 2015, the U.S. government marked the effective end of unrestricted invasive experiments on chimpanzees, and in that same year, chimps, both wild and captive, were listed as endangered under the Endangered Species Act, after a decades-long fight to end the use of chimps in laboratory research. Later on, in November of that same year, in 2015, the National Institutes of Health decided it would no longer fund invasive chimpanzee research and would retire all government-owned chimps to a federal sanctuary. And now we are about to watch a video that shows exactly how these chimps interact and how they play together and how they get along together in the sanctuary. So for those who are interested in some more facts about chimpanzees, they actually are one of our closest relatives in the animal kingdom, genetically speaking. We share between about 95 and 90% of DNA with them. One of the things that you've noticed today throughout our Facebook Live with some of these chimps is that they will use tools to achieve certain goals, whether it's, as you see right here in this log, like digging out hidden treats like fruits and nuts and seeds that are inside this log. And this particular chimpanzee that we are watching right now, her name is Harley. for those who are curious out there. And for those who are just now tuning in, we are at Project Chimps, a chimpanzee sanctuary located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia in the United States, which is kind of at the beginning of the Appalachian Trail. And this sanctuary has more than 200 acres, and nearly 40 chimpanzees are here right now. Now, the ultimate goal for this organization is to have more than 200 chimpanzees living here over the next few years. All of the chimps that are here today have come from the University of Louisiana's New Iberia Research Center. Now, some of you may also be wondering, well, if the government ended medical research on chimpanzees, then why didn't the lab in Louisiana just turn all the chimpanzees over to Project Chimps? Well, it's a bit easier said than done. It takes time to build all of these villas. You cannot automatically put all these chimpanzees together in one area and hope that they will coexist peacefully. It's just like humans. It can't necessarily all be put together amongst 200 other people. So as funding comes in and more donations and they keep building more and more villas, then they can bring them in groups. But that being said, the chimpanzees that are still at the University of Louisiana's Research Center, they are not partaking or being used in any medical research. They are living there, but they are not being used for medical research anymore. And some of you may also be wondering, why were chimpanzees even used in medical research to begin with? Well, it all started around the 1920s when thousands of chimpanzees were taken from the wild. They were bred in captivity for use in medical and other invasive research here in the United States. And one of the main reasons for that is because chimpanzees and humans are nearly 99% genetically identical, and were considered to be ideal models for humans in research. But several years ago, the U.S. government formally agreed ending funding for the majority of invasive experiments on chimpanzees. The chimpanzees that are here today at Project Chimps, they do get to enjoy a lot of outdoor time, but one unique feature about Project Chimps is they give a lot of freedom and choice to these chimpanzees. If they prefer to stay indoors under the nice air conditioning. Oh, and there we go. There's another one who's about to pop up underneath the window right there, just checking us out. Not saying anything. Gonna go back. But yes, so some will prefer to stay indoors where it's nice and cool. especially in this blazing Georgia heat. They don't want to be outside for too long, and some, just like Harley that we're watching right here, don't mind laying up underneath the tree in some shade and kind of foraging around. They can stay around with their buddies. They can kind of wander around on their own. This organization really gives them a lot of freedom to make the choices that they want with their lives, especially after spending so many years of not being able to live how chimps should live. I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to watch us live here at Project Chimps, a chimpanzee sanctuary located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Georgia. If you're interested in more information about the organization and how you can donate or volunteer opportunities, you can go to their website, projectchimps.org.